When I first watched Whisper of the Heart, I honestly had no idea what it was going to be about. I was in bed one day, about to start watching Howl's Moving Castle, and I said, you know what? No. Maybe today I will watch a different Ghibli film. So I decided on Whisper of the Heart. I had no prior knowledge of what this movie was about, and I just decided to kind of let it take me on a ride. So I'm watching this film, and I honestly couldn't get a grasp on what the plot was going to be. I didn't know if it was a romance. I didn't know if it was a coming-of-age story. And then it ended, and tears were streaming down my face. And I asked myself, what did I watch? Part of me thought, is it because the ending was made for the hopeless romantic in me who really wanted Seiji and Shizuku to be together, end up together? But that didn't feel right because this didn't feel like a romance. Not entirely a romance, that is. It was something more, and I honestly just couldn't put my finger on it. So then I just went to sleep. And the next day, I woke up and I made breakfast, I got dressed, and I decided I was gonna go to the bookstore. So I went to the bookstore. I met a little dog, a little chihuahua named Charlotte, who was so small she couldn't even fit in her harness. And then I decided I wanted some coffee. So I walked down to the coffee shop, and it got so hot. I decided that I was gonna get lemonade instead. And there was a store that was actually selling lemonade. What a coincidence. So I went in there, I got a strawberry kiwi mint lemonade, something fancy and fun like that. And it was so good. Oh, I mean, I haven't had lemonade in such a long time. It takes me back to a simpler time, you know, with my brother, standing on the side of the street selling our own lemonade, days playing in the backyard, and just how fun and simple and present I feel like I had the chance to be when I was younger. And every day, I kept living my little life, getting my lemonade, thinking about playing in the backyard and collecting honeysuckles with my brother, pretending that we were two wilderness explorers surviving off of the forest. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what was that movie about? I started replaying the sequence when Seiji and Shizuku sing Country Roads together when he's playing the violin. And I just couldn't pinpoint what it was about this scene that I kept dying to come back to. Something about it was just captivated me. It made me giggle, it made me blush, it made me laugh, it made me excited and happy and so many things at the same time, and I just couldn't figure out why. As someone who is a fiction fanatic, I'm so used to analyzing and understanding and having a firm grasp on a certain scene and why it makes me feel a certain way. And with Whisper of the Heart, I just couldn't pinpoint it. It was just like joy. I just feel joy watching it. And that's when it hit me. That is what the movie is about. The whole movie is a reminder of how joy can be found anywhere you go. For me, it exists in looking out my window right now, or going to Barnes & Noble and just fawning and touching the Barnes & Noble Classics covers of my favorite books, or walking down the street on a hot day and stumbling across a lemonade stand store. Whisper of the Heart is that. It's a reminder that joy and things worth living for exist everywhere, every day, in present small moments. To me, Whisper of the Heart was telling me a reminding me that I don't have to earn joy. I deserve it. And I am allowed to find it in the smallest things just as much as in the big things that happen in my life. It's also a movie that really rings true for artists. As artists, I feel like a lot of the time we are so weighed down by our expectations of ourselves and our imaginations, where we can think up all these grand things, but we have no idea how we're gonna get there. And if we do get there, it's still not enough for us. Seiji wants to be a master violin maker, and for him, the fact that he's made these violins, again, like Shizuku says, you made a violin come out of a piece of wood. To him, it's nothing. It's nothing to celebrate. But then they have this moment where he plays the violin. He does the thing that the violin is supposed to be for, which is to make music, and not just to make music, but to share music with somebody else. So it's like he went from a block of wood to a violin to music to connection. And that's what art is about. Art is about the way that it connects us to other people. It's not about mastering making the perfect violin, because a person listening to the violin isn't going to know that it's the masterful, most perfect instrument that has ever been created. All they're going to know is that the sound that emanates from it makes them happy. The fact that it exists can bring them joy. And that honestly just hits such a delicate part of my heart for me, because as an artist, you think you can get in this mentality of, I'm not allowed to enjoy this thing until I have mastered it, until I know that I'm good enough to enjoy it. I was watching this show recently called Abbott Elementary, which I recommend, and not to get too derailed here, but there was a quote there that one of the characters said, that a dream can be just as much a burden as it is a goal. And yeah, that spoke volumes. What a crazy way of thinking it is as an artist, or whatever you do in your life, that you don't get to enjoy the thing that you love to do until you're good at it. We get so wrapped up in trying to be masters of our craft that it's like the point of the craft is to make other people happy, to feel joy, not to be a master at it. Who cares if you're technically perfect? And it's not that it's a bad thing to study and master your art, but we can get so lost in trying to master it that we forget the point of it. We forget what called us to it, which was the simple joy that it brought us. You know, Seiji was going to go to Italy so that he could focus his life and career on becoming a prodigy master violin maker, and because of that, Shizuku wanted to match him by writing a full novel and being the best writer that she could possibly be, being like a prodigy like Seiji, because if Seiji came back and he tells her that he is a prodigy, then where does that leave her? She has so much catching up to do. And the thing is that Shizuku just loved to read. She loved stories and she loved fiction and she wanted to write, but she self-imposed this project that she had to complete it, and if she could complete it and if it was good, only then was she allowed to continue being a writer, or call herself a good writer, or really even enjoy fiction again. It's like you are so obsessed with, I want to make something that makes me feel as happy as the things that exist already. And if you don't, then it kind of gives you like a bitter taste in your mouth because you can never reach that level. In Shizuku, writes her book and is so just ready to receive criticism about how bad her writing is that she doesn't even think about how fun it was to write it. And they show these clips of her living in her imagination and jumping around with the Baron, the cat statue, onto these floating islands, and her finding this magic crystal and all these beautiful things that she got to think of in her mind. But it's kind of like a battle between her enjoying writing it and her just wanting to be good enough as a writer. And when we see those moments in her imagination, that's moments when she's getting lost in it, and that's when she's really developing her story. And then moments where, you know, she's falling asleep trying to write, and when she's waiting for the old man to read it, it's kind of like the idea of her being a writer and having to finish the story meant more than the joy of writing it itself. So many artists were like that. We can forget the joy of why we're making this project, you know? It's not to show somebody that we've accomplished something. It's not to be a master of your craft. It's to create. And it's okay to just create. It's okay to live your life and follow a cat through the streets and find an antique shop. That's an adventure in itself. That's art in itself. Meeting Seiji and having that moment when they got to sing Country Roads, and they got to both bring the things that they love together to connect. That is what art is about. That's what Whisper of the Heart is telling us. It's about the connection. It's about, at the end of the day, art should bring joy. Art should bring just warmth and presence into your life. But you know, art really is like a whisper of the heart. It's that thing that it's inside you, and you call yourself to it. You create it out of your own love for it, not because of trying to catch up to someone or because you force yourself to make it. It's you. It comes from inside you. It's something that only can be created and initiated by you, by your love and your passion for this art form or whatever it is that you want to do in your life. As someone in their mid-20s, Whisper of the Heart really came to me at the perfect time, because even just now, I look back on my life and I kind of wish that I slowed down, or I kind of wish that I allowed myself to indulge in some things and some relationships. And there's so much that you can learn by just living and being in the present. And like in the film, there are so many moments that are just so mundane, like leaving the grocery store or crossing the street, walking in an empty neighborhood, passing your neighbor on the way up to your apartment. These are all things that are made moments out of, significant moments. Seeing the family at the dinner table, working, and the dad when he lights a cigarette and the mom telling him not to. I am someone that when I'm making art, I'm not good at making it if I haven't been active or doing something. And I don't know why it is, but if I'm just still for too long, I'm not inspired. You know, I have to go out and watch people and see people and feel things for myself, to hear that whisper in my heart, to be attuned to something that I want to say by experiencing the world around me. And I think that's really what this story is about. To live is to learn, and to learn is to know yourself, and to know yourself is to hear the whisper of your heart. There's a really beautiful video by Accented Cinema that I will put a link to below, but I just wanted to add just to the world and to the YouTube sphere my experience watching Whisper of the Heart and what it meant to me, and how it's just one of those movies that it just lives in your head, I think, forever, and just reminds you of the beauty of the present and that art really does exist in the present. That's where art comes from. So I really hope that you'll give that movie a watch, and if you have watched it and weren't sure what it was really about, I hope that this helped you kind of understand what it was about. The life that you individually are experiencing right now, and the moments of serendipity that happen upon you within it. There are so many singing country roads in Seiji's workshop moments for you to experience in your life. Just be open to them. Listen to the whisper of your heart and let it come to you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I plan to do some more Ghibli film talks in the future. Maybe a little bit different from this one, because I think that this movie is just very unique. It's very much unlike any of the Ghibli films that I have seen so far, which most were directed by Miyazaki himself. This one was directed by Yoshifumo Kondo. It's a coming of age and it's a romance, but it's also not. It's just a becoming. It's a falling. It's a existing and living, and it's a story about not even really finding yourself, but being who you are and accepting that, embracing that, and allowing who you are right now to lead you to the next version of yourself. Bye!